Alright, so this is my iPhone 16 Pro Max and it's absolutely seen better days. Now we're closing in on a full year now. The new iPhones are right around the corner and I think it's safe to say that I probably made the mistake of upgrading to this guy. Now it's not to say that it's a bad phone because it really isn't. It's just the fact of the matter that with the 16 Pro Max, we just got a bit of a faster processor, camera controls, and then a ton of AI, which didn't really happen until way later on in its life cycle. So with that being said, I want to share with you guys how my experience has been with the 16 Pro Max a year later. All right, so first things first, the first thing I want to talk about is durability. So this was probably the first time I rocked an iPhone completely naked, no screen protector, no case for its entirety. For the full year, it had no sort of protection. Now, I absolutely have no regrets, but I probably dropped this guy waist height way too many times. And I know what a ton of you guys are thinking, why didn't you just throw a case on it on the first drop? And it's because it didn't crack. It never shattered, never cracked. I think for the most part, all I really got was a hairline crack on the screen here. And then besides that, there is damage across the railing and whatnot. But besides that, I think for the most part, that's why I intentionally kept it without its case. So I have to give it to Apple. In terms of durability, these guys are made with premium materials and obviously well enough to withstand a few drops. That being said, I know that they're going back to aluminum this year, but that again is to help with heat dissipation, which in return should offer better performance. So there's sort of that trade-off. But moving on to the camera. So forget about camera control because I probably only used it a handful of times. I think the only reason why I still sort of use it is because I mapped it to have it invoke the, the Blackmagic camera app, but that's about it. I don't use it for anything else. I did try it, and that's the one thing that I have to give to myself. I tried it. I tried using it for manual controls, and the hardest thing that I found was that it was just difficult to dial in specific settings like while on the run. But yeah, between that and then just having to hold the device in certain like ways, especially when it was horizontal, I just found it a bit odd. Just couldn't do it. Now, I hate to sound like everybody else, but I think the iPhone is still the gold standard when it comes to video, and that includes log footage as well. I know Samsung has sort of also implemented it with a lot of their devices, but for the most part, I think Apple still does it a little better on their end. And I think there's definitely a specific niche for these devices, for these Pro phones. I've seen the videos that come out of these guys and they are absolutely amazing. If you're able to shoot log, if you understand shooting in log and you're able to color grade, or you're even able to manually control it with like the Blackmagic camera app and stuff like that, you're able to really manually dial in specific settings. And again, you could argue that you still might need some sort of ND filter to get proper shutter speed, to get proper exposure. But for the most part, if you are able to and take the time to actually learn it, I think you absolutely can use devices to some extent for filming. I think they shoot beautifully. As for photos, the iPhone 16 Pro Max is an absolute workhorse. I think that it offers consistency, it offers well-balanced images, shadows are clean, or it tries to give you clean shadows, as well as a nice roll-off off the highlight. And you could argue that any device, any phone can take beautiful images within proper conditions, right? Within proper lighting conditions. And that's the one thing with iPhone that I think is that it gives you great images, you know, naturally. It gives you really nice images in a ton or a variety of scenarios. I think that's what it offers, just consistency through a different variety of scenarios. Which brings me to a consistency with performance. And at least for me, the iPhone 16 Pro Max performed beautifully throughout its entirety, whether it was editing pictures in Lightroom, whether it was gaming, or even shooting log video. I think with log, it would get hot, you know, for the most part, but besides that, it never really buffered or lagged in any sort of way. Now, over that year, I consistently kept my device charging intentionally up to 90%. I wanted to sort of try out to see how my battery degradation would be at the end of the year. And so I'm happy to say that it actually dropped 7%. It's sitting at a healthy 93%, but basically it would get me through an entire day without any sort of issue. At nighttime on certain days, I obviously have to charge daily every single night, but on the days or the off days that I'd forget to charge, I'd probably wake up with around 10%, maybe sometimes lower. and then I would just have to charge it from there. Obviously it doesn't offer like the extreme or the fastest fast charging, but the speeds are decent for what it's worth. And then as far as OS goes, I think Apple is headed in the right direction in terms of customizability. I think, you know, as these past years have gone by, I think they've slowly integrated more and more with widgets, customizability with the lock screen, with the home screen, with widgets being able to be moved around and whatnot, even the ability to customize certain icons, which is great. Now, Android still does it a lot better, in my opinion, but it's good to see, you know, Apple trying to play catch up at this point. Now, do keep in mind that I actually kept it at iOS 18. I never fully upgraded to iOS 26, so I can't give you guys a full rundown there. But with iOS 18, I think it kept a really nice, smooth experience throughout the entirety of the full, or close to a full 365 days. Now, was the iPhone 16 Pro Max a great device? Absolutely. Would I recommend upgrading to it now? Probably not, and that's just because the iPhone 17 is right around the corner. And normally I'd probably still have this as one of my top picks, but the fact of the matter is that the iPhone 17s are actually pretty decent across its entire lineup this year. So even starting with the base model, you're still getting 256 gigabytes of base storage, getting ProMotion, 3000 nits of peak brightness. So there's a lot more to offer just at the lower price range. But thanks for sticking around, guys. If you guys enjoyed what you guys saw and want to see more, you know, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the like button, and we'll be seeing you guys on the next one. Later.